Dr. Arthur Miller was a man of routine. Every day he woke up, ate breakfast, and drove to his dental practice. His days were filled with the whirring of drills and the scraping of teeth. Arthur took pride in his work. He considered himself an artist, sculpting smiles and easing pain. However, Arthur's personal life was far from perfect. His marriage to Emily was strained. The once passionate love they shared had dwindled to embers.
I can't believe this is happening. I suspect Emily is having an affair. I see the furtive glances, the late-night phone calls she thinks I don't notice. The thought gnaws at me, poisoning my days and stealing my sleep. I long for the old Emily, the one who laughed easily and held me close at night. I would give anything to rekindle the flame that once burned so brightly between us.
Emily, on the other hand, felt trapped. Her life had become a monotonous cycle of chores, dinners, and empty conversations. Arthur, consumed by his work, barely seemed to notice her anymore. She craved excitement, passion, a spark that Arthur no longer provided. That spark she found in the arms of another man.
Mark, the man I'm seeing, is everything Arthur isn't. He was young and handsome and makes me feel alive again. I know my affair is wrong, but I can't bring myself to end it. I'm torn between the comfort of my marriage and the exhilaration of my secret life.
Mark was spontaneous, charming, and made Emily feel alive again. She knew her affair was wrong, but she couldn't bring herself to end it. She was torn between the comfort of her marriage and the exhilaration of her secret life. One afternoon, a new patient walked into Arthur's practice. He was a handsome man with a confident smile and piercing blue eyes.
Mark Taylor, nice to meet you, Doc.
Arthur's blood ran cold. He recognized the man instantly. It was him, Emily's lover.
Dr. Miller, pleased to meet you.
Maintaining his composure, Arthur shook Mark's hand.
Just a cavity filling, Doc.
Mark, oblivious to Arthur's turmoil, settled into the dentist's chair. Mark was unaware that Arthur knew his face. Mark, on the other hand, knew who Arthur was. He couldn't wait to tell Emily what he did. Little did he know that this routine appointment would change his life forever. Arthur's mind raced as he prepared the instruments. He felt a surge of anger, a desire for revenge. This man had dared to intrude into his life, to steal away his wife's affections. He glanced at the cabinet where he kept the de-aging gas. It was a new gas the government were using in prisons to de-age criminals to create more space. A tank of the stuff had accidentally found its way to his office through a shipping mistake. Arthur was planning on using it on himself in time. Now he had a better reason. In his online research, he found it could reverse the aging process a good ways back.
An idea began to form in my mind, a wickedly brilliant, utterly insane idea. I will use the gas on Mark. I will turn back the clock and erase Mark's memories away.
Arthur's heart pounded as he reached for the canister labeled de-age gas. The plan was set in motion. Section 5. The gas takes hold.
Arthur, his hand trembling slightly, administered the gas to Mark. He watched as Mark inhaled deeply, his confident smile fading into a look of drowsy confusion. "Just relax, Mr. Taylor," Arthur said, his voice a calm mask over the storm raging within him. "This might tickle a bit."
The gas worked quickly. Mark's features began to soften, his jaw slackening as his body relaxed further into the chair. The lines on his face, the marks of time and experience, started to disappear.
Arthur watched, a mixture of horror and fascination gripping him as the transformation unfolded before his very eyes. This was it. There was no turning back.
Mark's body contorted, his limbs getting shorter.
His hair darkened, regaining its youthful sheen.
The transformation was dramatic, terrifying in its speed and completeness.
The once confident, charming man was gone, now replaced by a babbling, giggling infant.
Mark, now toothless and bald, gurgled happily, completely oblivious to the drastic turn his life had just taken.
Arthur, his revenge complete, felt a small pang of guilt.
Arthur realized he had a problem. How explain where this baby came from?
What had he done?
What had he let his anger drive him to do?
Panic surged through Arthur.
What could he do?
He couldn't exactly hand over a baby to his wife and explain the situation.
His mind, racing for a solution, landed on a desperate plan. After scribbling out a note,
he bundled up the now infant Mark in a blanket and pretended to come from the back door area.
With a heavy heart, he took the baby to his secretary, claiming someone left a baby on the back doorstep. He showed her the note scrawled on a piece of paper. "Please take care of this child. He needs a loving home." Arthur told her to call the police and went back to pretend to work on Mark.
He had crossed a line, and there was no going back.
He had to face the consequences of his actions, no matter how dire they might be. Later that evening, Emily returned home to find Arthur in a state of agitation.
"You won't believe what happened," he said, his voice trembling.
He told her about finding the abandoned baby, about his desire to bring him home and into their family.
Emily, initially shocked and skeptical, found herself drawn to the unseen, helpless infant.
She wanted to cradle the baby in her arms, and she could just picture his tiny hand gripping her finger.
A wave of tenderness washed over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years.
Emily expressed her own desires and told her husband she wanted to adopt that baby boy. As the days turned into weeks, Emily devoted herself to caring for the baby, whom they named Leo.
The constant demands of motherhood left her with little time or energy to think about Mark. He ghosted her ever since she texted him a breakup message.
Arthur, consumed by guilt and fear of discovery, found himself drawn back to Emily.
He saw a new side to her, a nurturing, loving side that he thought had vanished.
He helped with the late-night feedings, the diaper changes, and the endless rounds of lullabies.
The baby, his creation, had become their salvation.
Their shared responsibility for Leo rekindled the spark between them.
They laughed together, cried together, and rediscovered the love that had brought them together in the first place.
The ghost of Mark, the man who had almost destroyed their marriage, faded into a distant memory. Arthur promised to be a great father, to make up for what he'd done.
They had been given a second chance, a chance at happiness they never thought possible.
And they owed it all to the baby boy who had brought them back from the brink.